The Coaches Show is brought to you by Highway 55 Burgers, Shakes, and Fries. The Professional Fence Company. Our name says it all. No job too big or too small. Nunboys.com. And GPS Photography and Video, GPSPhotoandVideo.com. Welcome back. We're back with the Coaches Show, and it's time for the Ask the Coach segment. Coach, first one right off the bat. We talked about this earlier in the summer when you were talking about Jacob Rushing. Would he play defense? Would he be playing offense? Bottom line, would he be going both ways? So, what's that? Will Jacob Rushing be playing defense?
Jacob
or
can.
Could he be playing middle linebacker?
The problem with Jacob is and it's not a problem. The issue is he's our workhorse offensively. He's our go-to guy. Any kid that can get you 288 yards in one game against a team like 71st is special. But there were 4 times in the game that Jacob had to come out.
He's a little bit windy.
He had to come out. He tapped himself out, and we try to spell him as much as we can. And so the biggest concern becomes we utilize him defensively. Our lack of depth at tailback becomes radically exposed because, to be honest with you,
the man behind him.
Yeah, while he's good, he can't carry the load like Jacob can. Not yet. Just can't do it.
And that sort of makes it tough. Plus, a lot of people don't know. He does have asthma. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't know it, but he does struggle with that at times. But definitely one of our premier players out there. Do you see anybody else going both ways? I know we have played around with Donovan Wirt, maybe as a tight end. I'm not trying to let out any secrets.
No. Donovan figures in on both sides of the ball in specific personnel packages. It just depends on what we're doing.
Right.
We haven't utilized those personnel packages to the extent that we could have been able to had things gone a little bit differently because the situation hasn't evolved the way we have all that stuff set up to work. And other than that, Jalen Fennell is a potential defensive player. Mm-hmm. Could see some spot time at defensive end. Harley Ellis, he works in our defensive line and our offensive line, and as does Jaquan Cowan. It's really dependent. DeAntoine Campbell plays corner for us. He is Jacob's backup at tailback, but obviously if we were to have to call upon him at tailback, then we gotta put somebody in at corner.
So you could.
The whole key is on the 4A level, playing 2 platoon football teams.
Is it unrealistic?
No, it's not, but it's not the necessity of it dilutes capabilities in places where you depend on folks in primary spots. And the last thing I want to do is jeopardize a kid like Jacob Rushing's ability to run the football with authority the way he does, and at the same time run the risk of him being ineffective on defense because of how fatigued he is after certain situations in offensive series.
And the thing about
it's a paradox.
It really is. And we're going to our 4th game, but we're just on the front 25%. Mm-hmm. I mean, we haven't entered into conference play, and we know what's down the road. So you definitely got to be strategically sound and make your plans appropriately, especially over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The good thing about it, we will have that bye week before conference play starts, but hey, it doesn't get any easier from here. Now, overall in the conference, it was interesting to know Southview beat Lumberton. How did they see the match? I think it was 19-18, 19-17. Was it a thing that it went down to the end, or do you see some things that they could expose, or no?
They just beat them. They just beat them. Lumberton made some mistakes, and Southview took advantage of it, and they played the better football game.
Yeah. Well, it's Poultry Week this week, not Turkey Bowl, so it's a Poultry Bowl, I guess we'll call it.
Somebody told me the other day the Fowl Festival.
The Fowl Festival. Well, that's appropriate amount of fouls that we had. So coming in here, somebody's going to get a trophy on Friday for the first Poultry Bowl,
Forgot about that.
if you want to call that.
I think it's still called the Turkey Bowl, isn't it?
Well, they're calling it both. But I was told politically correct, you're supposed to call it the Poultry Bowl. As I rode into Rayford, they got the signs with everything says Poultry Festival.
Okay.
So that parade and everything will be next week. I don't know if they're gonna have people jumping in. They had the air show, paratroopers jumping in. So it'll be interesting. Is that a thing of distractions? I mean, when you talk about the Poultry Festival, homecoming, senior night, there's a lot of distractions, and you got to call them that. They're distractions because you got to maintain your team's focus. And now you're waiting, maybe your kickoff's a little bit later because maybe paratroopers are getting off the field or something like that, some kind of hang-up.
The Poultry Festival, not so much as, say, things like homecoming and senior night, which are both necessities, and obviously if it weren't for football, you wouldn't have those things.
Right.
The thing, homecoming is probably one of the more, I guess, frustrating things that we have to deal with in the football season because it's a whole week.
Right.
It's a whole week of things, and
Not just that,
it is great, and it's great for the kids, but getting them refocused and dialed back in on what we got to be able to do, and making them understand, guys, at the heart of all of this is a football game.
We're here to work.
At the
And if
heart
you don't
of
win
all
your
of it.
homecoming game, or your senior night, or whatever special night, even Veterans Night, when they hit the race cars out there, it's all meaningless. I came there, I went to all the festivities, but we lost the game.
Well, and even with the senior night deal, and I think we discussed it. My goal is to make senior night a celebration of the senior season, not a moment of finality. In that, and I've been a part of it, football for a long time, and I've watched the adverse emotions that kids experience when it finally hits them, and often it does, the majority of them, on senior night. This is probably my last game on this field. And I think doing it the way that we're trying to do it and making it, the beginning of a celebration of the senior year puts a much more potentially beneficial spin on all of it.
Right.
But that was our thinking on that. Turkey Bowl, the distraction on that, it not so much because it doesn't involve us.
Right.
Like senior night and like homecoming.
Gotcha. Well, Coach, let's turn to the players of the week. Offense, pretty easy. I mean, you almost could give a honorable mention to the offensive line. Jacob Rushing, third week in a row, over 500 yards rushing. 288 against 71st, and so
actually when we announced it, Jacob wanted to give the offensive line the player of the week. And,
there you go.
And that speaks volumes about his character because he knows that his ability to do what he's doing is completely dependent on the offensive line.
It is.
However, in light of that, I told Jacob, I said, we can't have 7 captains.
No.
You can't. And that's what we do with our players. Our players of the week are our captains for the following week.
Right.
And I told Jacob.
So that's an interesting reward that you give them.
We can't have 5. 5 guys occupying one slot, and then 3 more. Actually, that's 8. You can't have 7. You can't have 8 captains. And Jacob, his offensive line, they know how he feels about him, and they feel strongly for him.
And they're definitely leading the way for it. I'm really impressed with those guys out there. I call them the big uglies. On defense, who you got?
Donovan Wirt,
number 45. This is senior year. Won our NCAA, the only NCAA qualifier
so far.
Others they got to do some work, but he had a good game, much better game than maybe the 2 previous weeks. You think?
No doubt about it. Played his best game yet.
Now you put him down, which was interesting.
We did. We felt like we could simplify his world and enhance his ability to play by cutting the field in half for him and putting him on an edge, which in essence is going to expose how much people respect him. They're either going to run straight at him to wear him down,
or they're going to double team him,
or they're going to run away from him.
Yeah.
Well, we've got him in a slot where he can't be double teamed.
Okay.
And Donovan is real good in close quarter combat. Not saying that he wasn't doing a good job as a linebacker, but we weren't being physical enough up front. Donovan is one of the most physical players that we have, and we felt like the violence inherent to his fit and his ability to play in close quarters and engage people, it made the best sense for our defense, and in essence it worked out best for him.
And another great kid off the field as well. Special teams.
James Galbraith.
James Galbraith, we one of the guys that was doing on the kickoff return.
Kickoff. He was on kickoff. He was on kickoff return too. He made 2 huge blocks on the same kickoff return and basically took 2 of their players out. Yeah.
I tell you what, Coach, it's interesting to note. We're going to keep on working and get till we get there, but you can tell that the team is starting to come together. It's really just a thing of staying the course, and we'll see what happens on Friday night if the Southview Tigers come in here to Raz Archery. That's going to do it for this week of the Coaches Show. Once again, the Coaches Show is brought to you by Professional Fence Company. Find them on the web, professionalfence.com. No job too big or too small. Their name says it all. Give them a call, 910-875-5912. Highway 55, Burgers, Shakes, and Fries, nunboys.com. Embroidery, t-shirts, and marketing, and of course GPS photography and video, 1080p HD, all your photo and video services that you will need, gpsphotoandvideo.com. We'll see you next week. I'm Glenn Young. We'll see you tomorrow at the What's Happening Hoke Show, and then of course on the Winter Circle on Saturday. Till then, we'll see you next week.